Reading with Joan, the place for all the fun.
Hi, hello, I'm Joan from Reading with Joan. Welcome to my channel. Kindly remember to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel today. We love reading with you and interacting with our kids. On our Wednesday time, we read, and on Saturday, we talk and we just talk about morals, talk about things that are related to our culture, because we want kids to be culturally aware. We want kids to grow up to be very responsible and independent individuals. I hope you will join us Wednesday and Saturday. Remember, like, comment, and share our channel with your friends and family. We hope you enjoy reading with us today.
Reading with Joan, the place for all the fun. Reading with Joan.
Hi, I'm Little J, and today I'm reading Wisdom Tales from Around the World. Now, we are reading Tales from the Middle East. Sufi Stories of Mullah Nasruddin, the Boatman. A scholar asked the boatman to row him across the river. The journey to the other shore was long and slow. Before they reached midway, the scholar grew bored and began a conversation. "Boatman," he called out, "let us pass the time by speaking of interesting matters. Have you ever studied phonetics or grammar?" "No," replied the boatman. "I've no use for those tools." "What a pity," snickered the scholar. "You've wasted half of your life. It is useful to know the rules." Suddenly, the boat struck a sharp rock in the middle of the river and began to fill with water. The boatman turned to the scholar and said, "Pardon my humble mind, but it appears to you so dim. The wise man, tell me, have you ever learned to swim?" "No," scoffed the scholar. "I have immersed myself in thinking." "In that case," said the boatman, "you've wasted all your life. Alas, the boat is sinking." That is a good story to learn from, that we should always focus on the best things that we need to.
Welcome to Reading with Joan. Today we're reading Jungle Doctor and Slippery Places, and we're going to read chapter 14, called Eaten by Ants. Wildly he crawled around in the rubbish on the floor. The flame flickered and went out. Then with a groan, he crawled back into the night. There was a horrible emptiness in his stomach. Everything he had was gone. Again, words echoed in his memory. Where moths and rust spoil, and where thieves break through and steal. Where your riches are, you may be certain that your heart will be there too. He spat. "Riches!" The voice spoke again in his head. "You cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve God and money. You shall not covet," rang out in his ears like the blow of the panga into the tree trunk against which he leaned. Covet. He had asked Dowdy Matama to explain that, and he knew what it meant. Why shouldn't I have what he has? It had all started with Dolla's first visit, but it could have stopped there if he wanted it to. But how often his mind told him, "I must have this, I must have that." He thought of things, he thought of people. Only a week ago, he had within his grasp everything that he had dreamed of wanting. But now his hands were empty. His clothes were strips of rag. His feet were bare. With a groan, he stumbled back to the public works department. He would throw himself down on the mat and sleep. If only sleep would take him right out of life himself. Misery, hopelessness, despair. These were his only possessions. He reached the door and pushed it. It was locked. He hadn't remembered to prop it open and the wind had slammed it. "A fool," he muttered. "I've been worse than a fool." Dejectedly, he walked out into the night. At sunset, back to Nungo, Lugu put down his cup. The agile way he slipped the powder and the sleeping capsules into Hamis's coffee pleased him. The Arab yawned. "Must be in for an attack of fever," he muttered. 10 minutes later, Lugu heard him snoring. He also lifted the lorry's handbrake. With satisfaction, Lugu watched the big vehicle start rolling downhill towards the swamp. He woke Dolla and chuckled. My end of the work goes surprisingly well. The lorry is here. The wind blows in the right direction. Mayala is drunk, but his fire is burned, distilling his powerful honey drink. You now go down to within sight of the huge mango tree on the swamp edge. There are those who guard their riches, but watchfulness will disappear when the fire starts. When you see flames eating Mayala's house, you walk out 7 paces into the swamp, and your feet will tell you where the ivory is. Drag it to dry land, and I will meet you at the machine. Any questions?" Dolla spat. I hate mud. Luca's voice is soft. But you love money. Now get going. He rattled a box of matches and disappeared into the gloom. Dollar took off his shoes and socks and rolled up his trousers. His thoughts were centered on how to keep those 6 elephant tusks for himself. Plan after plan moved through his head. Suddenly the darkness was cut open, not far to his right. Flames leapt up. There were some muffled explosions and the wind swept the blaze through the timber, earth, and grass-thatched roof. He heard shouting and watched running figures. Quickly, Dollar walked into the mud. It sucked at his legs and water splashed up into his face. He cursed softly, but was silent when his feet touched ivory. Muttering, he struggled with the 6th as the lorry. With difficulty, he dragged tusk after tusk to the bank. Muttering, he struggled with the 6th as the lorry, without its headlights, stopped half under the tree. Luca's voice came softly. Efficient work indeed. I see you have the ivory. Almost silently, they loaded the lorry, and Luca drove quietly toward the PWD camp. They bundled the elephant's tusks into hessian bags and hid them under a pile of rusting iron sheeting. As they drove back to Ngo, Luca chuckled. Congratulations, Juana Dola. In 3 days, a certain person will pick us up, and we'll each be richer by 1,000 ships. Dola grunted. I will need to be. From the ribs down, I am soaking wet. Mud, filthy mud, clings to me. If I'm seen like this, it will be but a short journey to jail. Peace, murmured Luca. Did you see the fine natural way that fire started and spread? Nayale was suitably drunk. The blaze we distilled was carelessly arranged. It was a simple matter for the fire and water that he was making to burst into flame. The wind played its part admirably. He stopped opposite the room where Jacobo lived. Juana Dola, I am always thinking of you. He pushed into the shivering man's hands a gourd of mead. Rest here while I return the lorry, but leave a little for me. Again Dola grunted, but as soon as Luku had driven off, he started to drink greedily. Most of the people of the village had gone down to look at the smoldering remains of Nayala's house. Down the road, its headlights blazing, came a police jeep. Luku quietly closed the lorry door, and, keeping always in the shadow, hurried back to Jacobo's room. Dola had upset the gourd of mead and lay flat on his back, breathing heavily. Luku produced from his pocket a sawn-off portion of rhino horn and placed it in Dola's pocket. Then he rolled the drunken man over, pulled his shirt, and wrenched from between his shoulder blades a plastic bag full of notes. Lovely money, whispered Luku. You won't be needing that where you'll be when you wake up. He lit a candle and with his left hand printed in wobbly letters. The man you are looking for is in the place where medicine was once injected. Also, Arabs buy much ivory these days. This note he placed on the front of the police jeep. Gripping the green suitcase contents of the marijuana and banknotes, he murmured to himself, Winston Churchill Lugu, you are an excellent one. He stopped, looked warily around, then raised a canvas-covered trailer attached to the police jeep. It was empty. Boldly he placed the suitcase inside, stepped in himself, clicked the cover back in place, and lay quietly on the floor. Time went by. From where Luku lay, he heard voices in a crackle of the radiophone. He smiled as a very drunk Dalal was pushed into the jeep, and they moved off. It was more than uncomfortable as the trailer bumped around over the rough road. At last they stopped. Luku heard Kolongo's voice. Well done. You have been safely? Yes, Wana AC. It is only a pity we couldn't find the money. It's there, chuckled the area. There, chuckled the area commissioner. Why do you think I insisted on the trailer being attacked? It was more than Dalal's partner could resist. To escape with the loot by the court the police. The cover was wrenched off the trailer, and for once in his career, Luku was speechless. In the house of Yona, the game scout, an alarm clock went off an hour before sunrise, waking all the officials. Over breakfast, a quarter of an hour later, Nelson Colongo said, Today is going to be long and exacting. Here is a program. Report half an hour after first light on the condition of the road and the waterway to the cooking pot. If these are still satisfactory, I will give the all clear to the army to unload the drums of fire fluid and the dynamite from the railway trucks, and I will take it out by lorry to the long strip of granite, where they will be loaded onto the raft and then taken into the cooking pot itself. He drew a deep breath. We will be there to see this happen. The army said they want 4 hours at least to fix their fire bombs after the fuel drums and explosives are landed. Wow, that is a lot to do with bombs and fire. But I still hope you enjoyed this chapter of The Jungle Doctor and Slippery Places, and I'll see you next week. Bye!
With one another so reading with Joe, the place for all the fun created.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to see you next time on another story time with Joan. Reading with Joan. Bye.